EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools, both located in Hope, Arkansas. I am David Henderson.
And I am David Henderson. No.
We're both David Henderson. I'm David Henderson. He's David Henderson. We're all David Henderson.
Hey, welcome to the show today. You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. Check us out live right now. You can also go to www.edutechguys.com and hit the website. There's also a player on that website. Excuse me, that was my watch clicking on the table. Also, we're on Periscope right now, so hello, Periscope. Welcome.
How's it going?
If you want to check out the tweets, go to @EduTechGuys. You'll see a link there to our Twitter feed and our Periscope feed. So, welcome. And this is episode 13.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Episode 13. Today on the show, we got a lot of great stuff happening. First of all, I want to give a shout out. I don't know if Greg's listening or not. Greg might be listening. Greg is under the weather today, so he is at home, snug in his bear cave, recuperating.
Yeah.
So he will be off the show today, and I thought about bringing him in on a Skype or something, but we've just been a lot of coughing and hacking and wheezing.
We don't need that.
That's normal.
You're right. I was just gonna say.
So on the show today, I'll drop it to David. He'll tell you.
We're going to talk about different aspects of education technology, of course. I'm also going to talk about, give an update on the state of the Arkansas Bandwidth Initiative. I actually had a phone call with a member of FCC. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name or not, but anyway, I talked with a person with FCC regarding that, so we'll talk about that. Windows XP still alive and kicking, believe it or not. And we're also going to talk about, I think the crux probably of the conversation is going to center around how we can use technology to differentiate student learning. We'll also have music from the featured artist of the week, and that is Mr. Nick Flora.
Yeah, as a returning artist, but he's going to be performing in Dallas this weekend. We'll talk about it some more when we get to the featured artist, and that'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
And differentiating education in technology and education. That's going to be an interesting topic we'll jump into in just a second.
Yeah.
Want to throw out some other stuff. I know you're all going out there and traveling to football games because it's that time of season if you're listening and you're in a public school setting. Yeah. Thank you for the sound effects. You're out and about doing that. So, hey, you know what? Go to radio.edutechguys.com. Click on the show reel and take a listen to some of our past shows. If you're looking to pass some time while you're driving, maybe that 30 to 45 minutes to an hour to that next game. It's also the weekend. So before your favorite college team starts playing after lunch or in that time on Saturdays, give a listen to us there.
Yeah.
Also, if you wouldn't mind, drop by www.edutechguys.com. Take a look at the bottom of the page. There is a comment section there. Leave us a comment. Tell me what you think about us doing a live lunch show a couple times a week for 30 minutes and discussing hot topics that are happening in tech and in ed tech specifically. So, we're trying to get more stuff out there to you. Also, look for in the future special projects on the website. David and I and Greg are looking at hitting the road, maybe coming to your school, maybe doing some really cool stuff along the lines of doing a production like this in your classroom, in your school. Bringing some really neat stuff with Google Apps, with one-to-one, with pretty much anything you'd ever want to know about ed tech in the classroom.
Yeah, and speaking along those lines of bringing it out to your school, we're actually putting together what we think is going to be a pretty fun, very interactive program. We'll have more information about that as we develop it and once we kind of get things rolling. But we'll do a live show from your school, and we get all, not all, we'll get some of your folks involved, get them live on the air, show you how easy it is to get this up and going, and using stuff that you probably already have in your school.
Yeah.
So
at the same time, showing you how to put in your lessons that you're already doing maybe into this system. And, even if you don't want to go live on the air, using the actual concept in class to get your kids up and active and being a part of the class.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So you can do that. You can reach out to us by, as Jeff said, run out to the website. Would you run out to the website? EduTechGuys.com. Scroll to the bottom there and fill out that form. You can also reach us. I am David at EduTechGuys.com, and he is Jeff at EduTechGuys.com. You can reach us that way or directly through Twitter. I am at David Inark, and he is at J Madlock, or reach us both at EduTechGuys. Lots of ways.
Lots of ways. So let's hit it. Let's jump into some topics here. David had a really interesting phone call with a member of the FCC, which we will not name because we don't have that person's permission to, probably say it on air. But we can definitely let David discuss about some of the things that he was talking about with the FCC and what's happening with the broadband rollout here in the state of Arkansas.
Right. So let's start with that aspect of it first. What's happening with the broadband rollout? If you tuned in last week or you listened to last week's show, you may remember that there was a meeting earlier, and we met with FCC and DIS, and there are a lot of acronyms as we had mentioned. Actually, that may have been 2 weeks ago. Now that I don't know. It's all a blur. But anyway, there was a big meeting with a lot of the heads of this aspect of what goes on in the state. Department of Education, Department of Information Services, the FCC, the E-rate folks known as USAC. And part of the discussion in that meeting was the development and release of a spreadsheet that has a timetable in it. And sure enough, by the end of the week, the DIS, Department of Information Services, they released this spreadsheet, and in the spreadsheet it lists out which districts will be converted either late this year, i.e. December, or very early next year, that is January. So we're talking 2015, 2016. And it also had in there which districts would be pushed out to next year's E-rate program, which begins July 1, and so they would be rolled out that next year. And then there's some outliers that may actually not get rolled out till a little further down the road. So with that released, that's one of those things where it gives you some information, a little bit of background as to, okay, so now we see sort of a plan. What does this mean in the scope of things? So of course, the number one question on schools' minds is, when are we getting our E-rate funding?
Yeah, that's a big one for us. When are we going to get the E-rate funding? And I don't think they realize, you're talking about 15 co-ops in hundreds of school districts in the state of Arkansas that this is affecting. And I think the FCC realizes that now. And, it's like anything this large, there are going to be some breakdowns in communication, and you're not going to know those until you get into it. So, in DIS and AppScan, they've hit a monumental task here. So, taking up for them, being that side of the fight, this is a big communication. Hundreds of vendors.
Right. Well,
lots of vendors.
Lots of vendors.
Not hundreds.
Well, my guess is that at the initial release of the RFP, there were probably, I have no idea how many telco vendors there are in the state of Arkansas, but it's probably somewhere between 50 and 100 overall. When all the dust settled, there were 17 who were able to meet the RFP or who were awarded contracts, agreements, whatever, through the RFP. So whittled down to 17. So yeah, you've got those 17 entities. You've got 300 plus districts in the state. You've got 15 co-ops in the state. You have FCC, and you got all the other organizations that are involved. Yeah, communication, as it turns out, especially communication. There are some hiccups some bumps that definitely have to be smoothed out.
So when you were on the phone with her, there's some ideas thrown out?
Yes. Well, one of the things that I had asked her about was specifically if the spreadsheet sufficed to get money flowing. The short answer is no. There are still some things up in the air that need to be worked out. But by the same token, it has come a long way into figuring out who could possibly get their Category 1 money released. That is, those folks that we know are not going to be rolled into the new state network until next program year, and we know that for a fact, well, then, okay, then we can make a list of those folks and then go ahead and release their funding.
Right.
Because if you are in that category, if a district is in that category, then basically they're filing the same way they always have, and they're going to still use the same vendor. It's still going to be the same agreement that they already had, so nothing changes for this. It's the folks that are converting this year where that's kind of the hang-up. And the hang-up really is just, when is that rollover point? If it's going to be December, then, okay, the district is going to get reimbursed for up to December, retroactive to July 1. And then after that, the state cuts over. The big issue, of course, is, okay, well, there's got to be some contingency in there. What if it turns out you were slated for December, but it really didn't happen until February? So who covers that? Or are they going to allocate that just in case? That type of thing. So that's where that spreadsheet comes in. And then part of that ties back to the whole communication, and that is where an idea was thrown around where we get and I say we, it's not really we, it's FCC and DIS need to come together and hold regional meetings at various education service centers around the state. And we basically just call in a group of districts, and we say, okay, if you're in this region, that covers these 4 education service agency areas. Everybody bring your stuff, come up here, and basically we sit in the room and powwow, and DIS says, School District A, this is exactly what this means for you. School District B, this is exactly what this means for you, and so on until everybody leaves the room informed. I won't say happy, but I'll say informed.
Yeah. We know I think that would fix a lot of the problems.
I do too.
Even if it wasn't fixed, if it was just informed one-to-one, and we
right.
had to ask and the separate districts were able to ask the questions, the superintendents were able to ask the questions, and everybody was happy, Right. I think that would be interesting to see work out. Another interesting thing, going back to the spreadsheet,
sure,
is a lot of schools are now pushed all the way back into the next funding year.
Yes.
So I wonder how they're going to handle the bid process that's going to have to happen for E-rate, because E-rate's not going to the state of Arkansas does not sign a multi-year contract. So unless the state talks the FCC into making a specific rule for Arkansas, including E-rate for broadband, that states Arkansas schools can only buy their broadband from DIS.
Well, all right. So two things. This is very off the cuff. This is not official. This is my thinking on this. Okay. First of all, in terms of multi-year contracts with state entities, my guess is that as we are aware, I'm not exactly sure. So let me back up just a second. Let me gather my thoughts a minute. Here's the thing. Let me put it this way. If this is something that the governor wants, things can happen such that that's taken care of.
Oh.
Right?
These things will be taken care of.
I'm just saying,
I'm just saying. I feel like I'm watching a show on AMC at this point.
Hey,
things are supposed to happen.
It's going to do what we need to do. Take care of business over here. But in all seriousness, I mean, really, that's what it amounts to. If the powers that be who control that type of those types of agreements, if this is what they want and it's also ultimately able to come to pass, frankly, it's the stroke of a pen and poof, there it is. Part of the reason why, and this is what we were told many years ago, part of the reason why DIS has been so slow to upgrade the network is because they've been under multi-year agreements with telcos. So obviously it already existed or exists in some form or fashion. So it's out there. There is precedent. So, that side of it, I could see where that's not necessarily going to be an issue. Although by the same token, I suppose it could be pressed. that goes into the FCC is not going to come down and say districts can only use DIS, because that's actually not what FCC wants. What FCC wants.
FCC gets.
I'm sorry, no, that's Leo. That's Leo. What Leo wants, Leo gets. That's come full circle. Anyway, and so, but what the FCC is after is the most cost-effective solution. So, if a district could show that their service provider that they would like to go with is more cost-effective than using the statewide rollout of a network, if they can show that it's more cost-effective, then the FCC's all for it. We actually talked about that today during the conversation, and I thought she made a very good point in that she said if a district can show that their one-off solution is more cost-effective than a statewide solution, she would love to see it. You know, well, it is a challenge, but by the same token, you know, you also have to think, you know, and I'm going to use her example because I thought it was brilliant. If you have districts and they're all buying toilet paper, right, and each district is buying their own toilet paper, well, what if the co-ops got together and they all bulk purchase toilet paper? What's the price of toilet paper going to do? It's going to go down. We're buying way more than we can share among the districts involved. Sure. Now, she used toilet paper. I like that example. We actually have a real-world example in paper purchasing. Right now, one of the co-ops serves as a bulk paper purchaser for schools and education service centers in the state. You put in the amount of paper that you want. That all goes part of the bid. There you go. You know, and so the price of paper comes down because of how many people are involved. Same thing with bandwidth. We can get how many folks involved with bulk purchasing bandwidth, the price has got to come down.
Right. I agree 110%. I turned my mic up a little bit. That's a little bit.
What did you say there, Junior?
So I had a great mention on chat right here. It says, I'm under the impression that they wish for this to be a reality TV show where they put everyone in a giant house and the last person left receives his funding in broadband. So I think the good doc out there for that one because that's hilarious.
That's awesome. And I believe if we were to pitch that actually might not be so. It might not be so far fetched.
Hey, we like that idea. That's a great idea.
That's right. I think.
Yeah, listen, we're going to make money off of it.
I think we can word that in such a way that people didn't realize that's what this was going to be. And all of a sudden they all find themselves in a house.
That's great. So I guess we can get off the FCC now and off E-rate because it's actually moving much quicker because a lot of schools have gotten a lot of funding. In fact, the school district I work for got a major chunk of Priority 2 funding. So.
Right, and that was one of the other things that did come up was that Category 2 funding is starting to roll out, and the FCC is actually meeting with DIS on Friday, if my understanding if my memory serves. So we may know more very quickly about the possibility of these regional meetings. So
that's cool. Hey, tell you what, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative in Hope, Arkansas. I'm Jeff Madlock, and I'm here with the ever so lovely David Henderson.
Lovely.
And we're going to take a quick break here and play a little promo for our coming up AESA conference that the Tech Guys will be at, live broadcasting.
Yes.
If you want to come down in New Orleans, it is the first week of the first week of December in New Orleans. Sorry, David was mouthing something mean to me. He was like, I know I was.
The people on Periscope can see that was not true.
So, hey, we're going to take a quick break, listen to a quick announcement, and we'll be right back with EduTechGuys.com.
Join EduTech Guys live from the 30th Annual AESA Conference in New Orleans, December 2nd through the 5th. We'll be providing day-by-day coverage as we talk with presenters, attendees, and members of education service agencies from around the nation. Get rid of the noise and listen to the music with EduTech Guys Live, December 2nd through the 5th. Brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative, Hope Public Schools, and the Association of Education Service Agencies.
I wish I knew some Cajun, because that's what I would use right there. C'est so bon, so du believe. I don't know any kind. So
We apologize if it turned out to be any kind of.
yeah, I don't know what I said in French. So listen, if you want to come see us in New Orleans in the first week of December, we'll be in New Orleans. Cafe Beignet or Dumont. That's it. At the Beignets. Boy, I'm having one of those days. Cafe Beignet, where we have Dumonts.
During the first week of New Orleans.
The first week of New Orleans. Hey, listen, great stuff out there on the web, and we're trying to always bring you some good stuff. It's the first of school. Most schools have started and are starting right now. Mm-hmm. Really great link out today coming from Edutopia, which if you don't follow edutopia.org, you should. That's a really great website. And they're discussing some really great apps on there. They have a blog post today, 11 apps for starting and staying organized for teachers. 11 of the best back-to-school apps for teachers.
The best back-to-school apps for teachers.
And I have to say, they're pretty good. The first one being the core app of state standards.
Yeah.
And that's a really good one. If you need to keep up with those things at the flick of a wrist, at your fingertips, that's a good one to have. 3030, I have to go ahead and say, I know about this one back when it came out. And 3030 is a timer. It's pretty much a project timer. You set your projects and how long you have to work on them. And the graphical interface is gorgeous. And you can set it as long or as short as you want. So if you're teaching and you like to keep yourself moving and you run a timer anyway, this one could run on your iOS device and be right there handy.
Cool.
I highly recommend that one. Or if you're looking to, if you go home in the evening and, you got to make dinner, you got to get the kids doing homework, you got to mow the yard, no telling what's going on. But then you get that downtime and you need to write a blog and do some other work. This might be the perfect excuse to download this app. The entry version is free. I think the whole thing's free. And
That's cool.
Start timing yourself. So also on that list is Google Docs, which
Hello.
we don't have to go into that one. Everybody
you know.
knows Google Docs. And then one of my favorites is Pocket. So if you don't know how Pocket, that's for it's a feed reader. It's just to get all your reads together. It's kind of like the book list thing on Apple. We can add to the reading list.
Okay, cool.
So it's a separate one that syncs between a Pocket app if you run it on a machine or a Pocket app on a mobile device.
Very cool. So if it's very popular, you might even say it's the Hot Pocket.
It's the oh boy, it's gonna be one of those days.
We just lost all of our listeners. Okay.
Hey, so also on the list is Twitter Lists, which I don't use Twitter Lists. It looks like it's an app, and I'm sure it just follows lists. Yeah, that's a big thing on Twitter now is lists. Anyone can create a list, and you can add anyone to lists. So if you follow a lot of great sports people, then you can create a list called My Favorite Sports Stars.
Yeah, and that's what I think, especially in education circles, you could use Twitter lists as a way to group either everyone that you want to follow in education, or if you notice that a lot of education is so broad, there are different aspects of education. So you might even want to, if you've got certain math folks that you follow, put them in a list. And you've got certain ed tech folks that you follow, put them in a list. And yes, of course, some of that may cross over and you put them in both lists. But I think that'd be a cool way to keep things organized and be able to follow just those particular topics that you're interested in at a given time.
Yeah, I wonder if, though, the thing that happens with me is I get too many lists then. Yes. Then it's like, well, I've got 75 lists. Well, heck, I should have just left them on the feed.
Right, yes, exactly.
I'm now not following one person.
Right.
So at that point,
yes.
I don't know Sunrise. This one says it's a calendar app that connects with all your favorite apps to make sure you're always up to date with all the events happening in your life. That's a neat one. Sunrise. I don't know that one.
Pinterest.
Pinterest.
Really?
I'm not a pinner.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
I have no idea. It makes sense.
There's the tweeters and pinters.
Pinters. A pinter? Is it a pinter or a pinner? I don't know.
Isn't that the guy that kicks the ball in that rugby type football overseas?
The pinter?
The pinter? Anyway.
The pinter. He's the guy that drinks it all.
In all seriousness, I do know that a large group of teachers use Pinterest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there are
absolutely.
tons and tons of ideas on Pinterest.
Yeah.
It's mostly free, isn't it? It's just links, isn't it? I mean, like you could link a teacher pays teacher link on Pinterest, and people could then see it on Pinterest.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's mostly you're linking the images though, not necessarily the web pages. You're linking whatever this particular, and I guess images is wrong necessarily, but this particular product or this one particular thing at a time. But then you create these boards and you put all the images on the boards. This is two guys talking about Pinterest. They have no idea what we're talking about. So
that's terrible. We call ourselves tech guys. The nerve of us.
Nerve.
The next one, it says any.do. Do you know that one?
AnyDo. I do not know.
Although it says this app helps you achieve anything by syncing your personal tasks, your work projects, and shared lists so you have a clear path moving forward. The teacher review says this is a wonderful task manager that helps busy teachers keep up with their to-do lists. That's interesting.
Okay.
I'll have to look at that one.
Yeah, we'll check that out.
I always use I heavily use to-do lists for about 30 seconds. And then I immediately lose interest and I go back to Post-it notes I've shoved in my pocket.
Yes.
Yes. So there are people who will never listen to the tech guys again because they don't know what they're talking about. Dropbox. Dropbox is always there. You know, I think one of the coolest features of Dropbox that a lot of people like is it is cloud-based, and you can instantly make a downloadable link, you know, from Dropbox.
Right.
And that's why I think people like it the most. And it is good for that. I mean,
it's definitely an easy way to share files that you have.
Right. Now, you can do the same thing in Google, but it's a little more, you know, this one is literally a right click or, you know, and boom, there it is.
Right.
And there's one that kind of shocks me, Voxer. And I've heard about a lot of teachers using Voxer to chat between other teachers. And
okay.
I don't know why. It's like, okay. But, I mean, you know, Voxer allows you to chat, and I think you can text and send photos. So it's chat, which is another app. But maybe people don't have chat. Then the good old Evernote, which I actually use Evernote. I like its web clipper.
Yeah.
I like the ability to send stuff to Evernote and take pictures and get my text off of it. Be able to search it, even if it's a picture for text.
Sure.
Which is a really cool piece. So, yeah, there you have it. We're talking about 11 of the best back-to-school apps for teachers. Those are there's some time savers, starting and staying organized with those 11 apps. You like that voice?
I do.
I've been working on that one in the mirror.
He's working on his radio voice.
radio voice. Okay.
Oh, is that what that is?
Hey, keeping along that same line, David and I were looking at an article while preparing for the show. The one using technology to differentiate instruction. Now, it's really interesting because we can get into that one pretty heavily. And one of the big projects that EduTechGuys is working on actually has to do with differentiating instruction and using technology to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly where we're, jumping to. And I think that's going to be a big topic for us. The scary part about it is breaking it down. Because I didn't realize there were so many learning styles in the classroom.
Yes. Well, I mean, you've got the band director background, so you came in from education and into technology.
Right.
I came completely from the tech side and have learned bits and pieces of education as I've come along, but this is one of the things that just really, it really does. I'm just like, holy cow. I guess the first thing the first kind of terms in terms of the way people learn, there was kinesthetic, and they might be auditory, they might be visual. And so that's, they either touch things, look at things, or hear things, right? That's pretty much, that's what, okay, well, it's way, way more than that. Holy cow.
When I started reading the list, I was like, holy smokes.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to run through the list, and I'm just going to read them off to you.
You go ahead.
I don't want to explain them yet.
I should start the 30-30.
Yeah. It's going to take me 20 minutes to read the list off here. But, there are a ton of learning styles. So these are the different learning styles that you're going to find in your classroom. Verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, virtual spatial.
Visual.
Oh, sorry, is that visual?
Visual spatial.
You know my eyes are terrible.
Speaking of visual.
Virtual.
Spatial.
Visual spatial. Bodily kinetic.
Kinesthetic.
Thank you.
Hey, I know.
I
Big
can't see.
words.
I should have let David read these. Here's a good one. I can say this one. Musicale rhythmically. It's music. Musical rhythmic is what it is.
All right.
A lot of those out there. A lot of those.
Yeah. Interpersonal,
which everybody knows. Intrapersonal, which happens just inside my nose. Naturalist. I'm not making fun of the different types of learning. I'm not making fun of the different types of learning.
He's not.
There's a good one, though. Interpersonal. These learners enjoy interacting with other students.
Yeah.
Sure. We got a lot of kids that like to talk.
Right. Yes.
You know, and it's funny. That's why we have discussions and group discussions and group projects, and those always work out great. Intrapersonal. These learners learn best through metacognitive practices. So they're the ones that like to sit there and think about their stuff.
Right, exactly. You know, and it's you know what we I don't even know if people still use the terms, but kind of what we used to refer to as sort of extroverts, introverts. You know, I was much more of an intrapersonal learner, but by the same token, I think it's important to start off by saying that, you know, we went through this whole list, and these are, you know, kind of the key areas or key ways that people learn. But I don't believe anybody's just one thing. You know, it's one of these things where you may have, you know, students. You may have one student who learns through a couple of different different methods here, or different ways, you know, that would be associated with them. And I think that students tend to also kind of float between some of these.
Oh, I agree. Because it just depends on, you know, which one, you know, they like and which one they feel like to that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting. And so getting into how it works in technology, it's really interesting. Bodily kinesthetic, you know, that's kids that like to put hands-on stuff.
Sure.
You know, putting things together.
Yeah, we're talking makerspace. We're talking
Legos,
bots. Yeah, exactly.
Building robots,
right.
the whole thing. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting. I don't think you could really find a usage in literature for that. You know, when you think about, well, science, yeah, mathematics, yeah, you know, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I guess with the decreasing cost of 3D printing, you know, if you were doing the Globe Theater with Shakespeare, you could print out parts of the Globe Theater
That's true.
You know, build your own Globe Theater right there in the classroom.
That's true.
And considering how cheap it is. And I just saw the other day they have a 3D printer that prints gummy animals that you can actually eat. So I'm saving my money. Saving my money.
You could make a gummy Globe Theater.
The Gummy Globe Theater.
That's actually disgusting.
That's a lot of that's a lot of gummy.
That's a lot.
I just ate Macbeth. So Shakespeare, he's delicious. But yeah, there's a lot of apps out there, and I think it's not just apps; it's technology. People think apps, and they think, you know, this is an app. I have to have a specific app to do this.
Right.
No, I think that's the breakdown that we're trying to make you understand is when this project we're working on is that pick what you're going to do, pick what broad technology is going to work for you, and then we'll hone in on, oh, I need a 6-foot deck on my mower. I don't need, you know, a push mower.
Right.
So it's one of those, you know, what's going to get me the best thing in the classroom? Is it going to be a push mower, or is it going to be a 0-turn with a 6-foot deck? That's for all the guys out there. All the ladies going, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah. So
I'm still trying to figure out how you're going to get a mower into the classroom, but okay.
I can get a mower in a classroom. If I got a moose in an elevator, I can get a mower in a classroom. If you give a moose a cookie, no, mouse a cookie. If you give a moose a pancake, no, that's a pig. If you give a moose a muffin, that's it. I knew it was one of those.
Oh, did you see that train? It's completely off the rails.
We have gone completely off the rails.
Did you see that?
Greg, if you're listening, why did you do this to us?
That's right. This is what happens when you're out sick.
Hey, listen, you listen to radio.edutechguys.com. David and I are here at the co-op, and the train has gone off the rails. No, not really. I think
we're just having fun. What the heck, you know? And we appreciate everybody that's out there listening to us there on radio.edutechguys.com or joining us on Periscope. We've got some folks that tune in to see the lunacy that takes place here.
It happens on this thing. Is it me or is it getting hot in here? I don't know.
It is.
It's the 13th show. It's unlucky. This is what's happening. You jinxed us when you said that at the beginning. David actually said at the beginning of the show, hey, it's the 13th show. Oh, man, this is not going to be good. At least I've not talked about any of my problems with my feet. So let's, hey, we're going to jump into the Artist of the Week. Then we'll come back and discuss some other things real quick. Hey, if you listen to our intro, that is actually taken from a piece by Nick Flora. Nick was one of our first Artists of the Week way back when we started, maybe first or second episode. We used some of his stuff. Nick is an artist out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's born, I want to say Oklahoma, maybe Arkansas, but he's from Arkansas. His parents live in Arkansas. So he went to school here in beautiful Arkansas public schools, and he lives in Nashville where he is a singer-songwriter. This weekend at the Opening Bell Coffee in Dallas, Texas, September 4th, which is Friday at 8 p.m., he will be performing with Dave and Kate. If you want to hear some great singer-songwriter stuff, then you need to definitely go out and hear Nick Flora. Anyway, back to our intro. Our intro was taken from one of his songs, and we're about to play that song. And the song is called The Presence of Greatness, and I thought that was fitting to use as our intro.
Yes, absolutely.
The Presence of Greatness. So, hey, here's Nick Flora with The Presence of Greatness.
I got something to say, something that will blow your mind. The moment I hit the stage, I'm sure you felt it inside. You know my knack for hyperbole. This song might make you fall in love with me. It's happened before, so sit back and know that this bomb is set to explode. I'm like a shark attack with t-shirts in the back. Here we go, I'm flying so low, so you can all grab a hold of me, so you can take in this presence of greatness that I emit so naturally. You might be surprised to see just what I've got up my sleeve. Oh, just you wait and see. Show of hands, how many lives have been changed? It's getting hard to keep track with all the records I've made. There's something to be said for humility, but that's got more to do with you than it does with me. So sit back and react, 'cause this you ain't never seen. And on the count of 3, you'll be bursting at the seams for more of me. Here we go, I'm flying so low, so you can all grab a hold of me, so you can take in this presence of greatness that I emit so naturally. You might be surprised to see just what I've got up my sleeve.
on EduTechGuys Radio. Well, welcome back. Now you see where we picked that song. That's a really, really great song. We enjoy it, and we enjoy the 30 seconds of intro that it provides an outro every week.
Very cool.
So, that was Nick Flora. He'll be at the Opening Bell Coffee in Dallas, Texas this Friday, September 4th at 8 p.m. with Dave and Kate. I don't know Dave and Kate.
I don't know
I'm
Dave
sure
and
they're
Kate.
Very nice people and excellent musicians to boot. So I'm sure that it's wonderful.
A really good shoe.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, follow us on Twitter at EduTechGuys. You can follow myself at JMadlock, or you can follow David at DavidInArk. That's DavidInArk, which would mean it was David in Arkansas. Also, hit us up on the website, www.edutechguys.com. Go to the bottom. There's a comment section. Please drop us something, anything. Please, people. Please drop us something.
Don't beg. Don't
Yeah,
beg.
it's terrible to say. Okay, don't do it.
That's not becoming.
Whatever you do, don't you leave us a comment. So, hey, we're having a good time here in the studio today. It is Wednesday the 13th.
What is
I know
happening?
we've gotten a little silly. I'm hoping Greg's sleeping through this because he's. Oh wait, I just got a message from Greg. Oh, he's resigned. Greg will not be back. In fact, he's quit everything. He's gone. No, I'm sure Greg's sleeping off whatever illness he has because he's not feeling under the air. We miss you, Greg. If you're out there, I'm sorry that you don't feel good today, but get better. So I'm gonna drop this back to David. He has a really great, interesting, peculiar,
I think, is the
concerning our favorite operating system, Windows XP.
Well, it's not a show if Jeff can't bash some Windows.
I don't bash Windows.
Well, okay. You don't. All right. Anyway.
Stinking Windows.
Stinking. No, I was leafing through one of the trade magazines that I get, and there's an article in there about Windows XP. And the title of this particular article is Windows XP, the operating system that just won't die.
And it's weird. In the trade magazine, Ford Fairlane to the 50s. That's a song. I'm just being silly.
I guess, I mean.
It's true, it won't die.
Well, now I will be the first to admit, I have some Windows XP machines that are still floating around. I know. And the reason that they are is because they are generally standalone student computers that aren't doing anything other than, like, showing stuff on an interactive whiteboard.
Oh,
I mean,
well.
really. So, I mean, okay, yes, they need to be upgraded, but upgrading takes money. And
Hey, you remember
so,
that time that presentation XP got a virus and infected the whole network? I'm being.
Okay.
David's giving me terrible.
But here's the thing. What really stood out in this article to me was the fact that the U.S. Navy has signed a $9.1 million contract with Microsoft so that Microsoft will support XP for the next 2 years. So we're talking,
Wait, is that just for the Navy or for everybody? Because if it was for everybody, then it's
a
bargain.
Right, yeah. No, this is just the Navy. And what would be fun would be to know. Well, it does say here that it is for 100,000 mission-critical systems. Get that. The Navy
100,000
has 100,000 Windows XP
logging
machines
into Novell.
Well, actually, that's probably not
They
far from
are.
the truth.
The Navy uses
You're
Novell.
right. You're right. Mission-critical. They're saying that all 100,000 of these are mission-critical. Well, that's fun. And, so they are not only mission critical, but they're still running Windows XP. And they're paying in order to keep the support for an operating system that is supposed to be long dead and gone.
That's wild.
So, well, yes, that is
But you're talking about 100,000.
right.
That would, it harkens back to the day of the $200,000 hammer. Remember?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's better than the Navy going to the Senate or Congress and saying, okay, listen, we're going to need $182 trillion to replace 100,000.
Right. Well,
that's what then it would be. Hey, did you hear about the $65,000 Windows 10 touch screen or
Right.
laptop or whatever
Right,
it is?
exactly. And as I was kind of doing some more research on this, that was the exact point that somebody else had made. It was that, hey, there you go, applause for Jeff. No, but the point was that it is a whole lot easier to go to Congress to say, hey, we need $9 million in order to continue support on a legacy system we already have in place versus $9 billion to actually replace all the equipment. And so that is definitely part of it, which is, pretty unfortunate, really, that's the mentality that, they kind of have to have. I mean, there's not really a way around that at this point other than to say, okay, well, we can either ask for $9 million to support XP or $9 billion or whatever it would cost to replace everything.
Right.
So along those same lines, I'm very curious how many school districts are still running XP with a pretty high proliferation, right? Again, I've got a couple of Windows XP machines. They're one-offs, all right? So out of all of the equipment I have, there's a handful, relatively speaking, of Windows XP machines. Okay, so I'm curious how many districts might be still running Windows XP in an expanded capacity. What if it's 40% of your install base? What if it's 60% of your install base you're still running Windows XP? For partly the same reason, although you're not paying out $9 million to have Microsoft support it. It's just we don't have the money to replace the equipment.
Oh, and that makes sense. And you say that about XP. I actually have some teachers that, last year we were limping through a handful of XPs that were still attached to some smart boards and, things like that.
Sure.
And, I know hardcore techs, hardcore programmers out there, coders, that still use XP.
Yeah.
They're just like, nah, I need it. This is all I need.
Yeah.
Give me XP and text edit, and I'm a good camper. So, But yeah, XP, and some people will say, oh, that's the last great operating system that Microsoft made.
Well, and that's easy to say right now. Well, I don't know if it's easy to say, but anyway, I mean, it's something that can definitely be said right now, just because. I mean, look what has followed Windows XP. What do we have? Vista. Help us. We had 7, which was a nice upgrade, but even that is now nearing end of life. Once 10 rolls out and Microsoft finally, decides to put the kibosh on 7. Although I do think I remember something about Windows 7 being supported through 2021, maybe.
Oh, probably so.
I think that sounded right.
Well, we tried to drop XP in 2000. XP wasn't released until 2000.
Right, I know.
But it's funny. Windows 2000.
Yeah.
Was it just didn't have all the pretties on it, and that's what Microsoft was trying to get out.
Right.
Windows 2000, what a solid architecture, which was based
Yeah.
on their server architecture.
Right.
And then XP came out, and once they got through Service Pack 4 build 78,000, then it was great. It was great,
Right.
once you got all the service packs on it.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that people forget about really any time there's a major release of an operating system. But in particular, that's one of the things I think people forget about Windows XP. People forget that when Windows XP first came out, it was a freaking nightmare. Drivers were a mess. You couldn't, it didn't behave correctly. And some of us remember. But a lot of folks don't. After whatever 15, 20 years, okay, so what, 14 years, Windows XP, after, again, like you said, after Service Pack 4, build 9 billion, it was stable. It was great. Hey, we're rocking along.
You were thinking in XP years.
XP years. That's right. Is that like dog years?
Microsoft Windows years.
That's right, in Windows
47 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
I installed Windows 7.
That's right.
But it's funny how many people panicked with Vista and how much Microsoft reverted itself with Windows 7.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Windows 7 is a good, fairly stable operating system.
Yeah, I'm actually running 7 here.
Yeah.
Some of our machines are running.
That's what we run.
Yeah. And some of the machines that I have here are running, some of them are 8 because they haven't quite rolled up to 8.1 yet, just in terms of updates. But most of them that are running anything current are running 8.1. So I've got 7 and 8.1, and I'm not looking forward to rolling out 10, to be perfectly frank about it. I'm not.
Who's Frank? No.
Shirley.
Yeah, I agree.
Frank and Shirley.
That's but so I think it's great. Well, so now I guess, so having said all that and discussed all that good stuff, if you're still renting XP out there, your administration, your superintendent, your employer, if you're working in the business world, gives you a hard time, just say, hey, the Navy's still using it. And those jokers got a rail gun.
In the Navy, we are running Windows XP.
Let's remember,
the Navy.
right now, on submarines, somewhere on the face of this planet, there are large nuclear missiles being controlled by Windows XP. So
we should end right there.
That's right. So if anybody gives you a hard time about Windows XP, you say,
hey,
if it's good enough to control half the nuclear arsenal on the face of this planet, then it's good enough to work in this lab for typing.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't let them give you a hard time. If they do, you tell them to. Look up Jeff on Twitter @JMadlock, or hit the EduTech Guys at www.edutechguys.com. That's called the segue. Instant segue.
That's called getting out of there fast.
That was quick, wasn't it? Yeah. Hey, hit us up on the web, www.edutechguys.com. Go to the bottom of the page. You'll see comment section. Blogs are on the left-hand side. Former Periscopes are on the right-hand side with the Twitter feed. And down the middle, you'll find some really great stuff, including show notes. And that's some really great stuff, show notes. And a link to Mixler.com. I want to give them a shout-out. Thanks to Mixler for letting us host our stuff there, even though we do pay them. So, but it is a great operating
letting
system.
us?
It is a great system and service if you want to broadcast on the internet. That's how you're listening to us right now. So I tell you what we're going to do is I think we wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
That sound good? Hey, it's a short show today, but so Greg, if you're listening, you give us an extra 9 minutes, brother. Every day.
Every week.
Every week
you give us 9 minutes.
So, hey, catch us next week. We will have a guest on the show. Watch the Twitter feed for the guests and watch our Facebook page. Oh, Facebook page. We never talk about the Facebook page.
No, we don't. You know what? Let's talk about the Facebook page.
We have a Facebook page. Okay. So there was us talking about the Facebook page. So yeah, you can check us out on Facebook. It's EduTechGuys. So if you're looking for us, search us out, and it's pretty nice. It's some of the same stuff you'll see on their Twitter feed. Every time we post a blog article, it does go to Facebook and Twitter, so you can read the blogs. There's some great stuff out there.
And don't forget, if you would like to be a guest, or you know of someone who you'd like us to feature on the show, by all means, have them reach out to us. Go to edutechguys.com, scroll to the bottom, fill out the form, let us know who it is, how to contact them, and we'll be happy to do that. Likewise, if you are a musician, songwriter, and you're doing your own original stuff, reach out to us, and you could be our featured artist of the week.
Definitely. Hey, I want to give one more shout out. I wrote a quick blog article last week on the new event coordinator online, web-based Group Team. And it's an article on the website. Check them out, Group Team, GROUPTING.com. Really neat, really cool stuff. If you have a lot of parents or an organization where the kids, parents get together and bring things, for that, I highly recommend you take a look at that, coordinating events using Group Team. Hey, you've been listening to radio.edutechguys.com. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson. We want to give a thank you to Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools for making this happen. And join us next time. Thanks for listening.
Get better, Greg.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.